There are only 4 teams left at this year's Women's World Cup, and we will try to find out which of these teams will actually win the Women's World Cup this year. I'm here with none other than Danya. Hey. Welcome to our prediction show. First of all, Danya and I, we share the same plight, which is all our teams are out. Let's start with Germany, out. Canada, out. And even Italy, out. Still, I mean, this is a great Women's World Cup. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think for the most part it's been great. Some questionable moments, but we'll talk about that later.
We have a couple of talking points here attached to our whiteboard, and we're going to talk about them, and I'm sure about many others as well, because Danya is here. Yep. So, which are the teams we have in the semifinals? We have England.
England.
This is the team you predicted to win the World Cup 3 weeks ago.
I did. I predicted it was coming home. It's going to be tough. They are playing against the USA, but I think they could still do it.
Who else is there? United States, I mean, defending
USA.
Champions.
What can you say?
What can you say? 13-0?
Literally.
That's how it started.
They're amazing.
But there is something maybe about the US that I find intriguing.
What is that?
Talking point, the effing White House. Actually, Megan Rapinoe does not sing the national anthem out of protest against her own president and his policies. That's kind of unusual, right? Should that happen at a World Cup, you think, or not?
Well, okay, first of all, she started doing that, obviously, because of Colin Kaepernick, and he was the first player to do that. And his was more about race, and she was actually the first white athlete to do that. But she stands against all kinds of inequality, so like gender rights, racial inequality, also like LGBTQ. So she even said it herself. She's a professional athlete on a world stage. This is a way for her to use this platform and reach as many people as possible. So, I mean, why shouldn't she do it? I agree with her. So, I'm from Canada.
The president of the USA tweeted about this, of course.
Who doesn't he tweet about, though?
Yeah. Well, he never tweeted about me. So.
You could probably get him to tweet about you.
Bing, bing. I love it.
So listen, dear president, you're a genius, because actually he tweeted in response to Rapinoe, actually, he said, well, win first. He's a genius, right?
Yeah, great.
What else can we say? We have the Netherlands, the European champions. Mm-hmm. What do you make of them?
To be honest, I thought they were not the better team against Japan. For example, I was rattled that the Netherlands went through. Despite the fact that I liked them, I think Japan was a better team in that game. They created more opportunities. But that being said, that's not how football is. And the team who scores the most goals goes through, and Netherlands did. And they were the better team against Italy, who did struggle. So I think it'll be interesting to see what they bring in the next game, because they did improve from Japan to Italy, and now Sweden. Still,
don't you think that's a great consolation here? Van der Zanden, actually, she was, you know.
It looks like she was crying.
Oh my God, she was moved, actually. But anyway.
Because they knew how lucky they were to get through that game. Literally, she was like, oh,
probably,
God.
Yes. But still, they're in the semis, and there is Sweden, who beat Germany, which maybe came a bit as a surprise. Or what do you make of Sweden?
Yeah, okay, Sweden historically has been one of the most difficult teams to play against, because they're so organized defensively, and they have no problems sitting back and defending well, and playing on the counterattack and making the most of their chances when they get them. And I think that's what they did today against Germany, and that's what we'll see them do going forward. They know their tactics, they execute their game plan, and they don't care if anyone doesn't like it. The U.S. criticized it the last time around, saying it was like ugly football, and they just parked the bus, and they're like, whatever, you know?
I got some news for you. You know what Amandine Henry said about the USA and the French press today?
Uh-oh. No, I didn't see that.
She said at 2-0, the Americans were parking the bus.
Well, I don't think it was necessarily parking the bus. It was just something that nobody's ever seen the U.S. do, and I think that was a testament to how good France was. They were playing defensively with 5 in the back. They were playing 5-4-1. So, you know what? I mean, the difference in level now is getting smaller, because a lot of teams are putting more investment into women's football, and naturally the level's getting better, so the U.S. has to adapt their game too. Before they could play with 3 at the back and still win. You know what I mean? Now they can't.
Speaking about the level of women's football, there is also growing interest actually, and what, you know, talking points, oh wow facts, is really the actual following in the respective countries. So you know how many people in Britain, in England, excuse me, watched the quarterfinal match against Norway?
No,
7 million people. That's a record figure actually. Do you know how many people in Brazil watched Brazil's game against France?
No.
35 million people.
35 million?
Yeah, then again, Brazil has 200 million inhabitants.
Oh, that's okay.
So it's a huge country, but that's still a lot, actually. Yeah. Bringing it back to England, USA, that's going to be a great semi-final, of course. Yeah. We have Ellen White there with 5 goals. We have Megan Rapinoe there with 5 goals. We have Alex Morgan there with 5 goals. Just a word about Ellen White. I mean, honestly, this is probably, I don't know, it is somewhere between the best and the most annoying goal celebration. I don't know what to make of it.
Griezmann's goal celebration is annoying, so.
Oh yeah, can you imitate that?
No.
Because,
no.
Yeah. So Ellen White, ladies and gentlemen, she's a fan of Cologne FC in the German Bundesliga. And she, what she's doing here, she is basically imitating the goal celebration of Anthony Modeste.
That's so random.
No, but she's a supporter of Cologne FC, right. So that's what she does. Who will make the difference though? Because Modeste won't play, but it's Ellen White up against Megan Rapinoe and Alex Morgan, among others, of course.
Yeah. This is hard because it's a very star-studded game. There's a lot of very good players. I mean, you have Neville saying that Lucy Brown should win the Ballon d'Or because she's by far the best player in the world, period. Now, she's a fullback. But she did score an absolute laser beam the last game. I think, honestly, before the last game, I would have said the U.S. defense would have been in trouble, but Crystal Dunn played absolutely ridiculous last game. So this game I really see as like a stalemate because they're both very good that I feel like they could almost cancel each other out. I do think, though, the U.S. has a lot more experience in these type of games. So I think that would be a big factor. And I think if you saw before the last game, Rapinoe, Morgan, they were just so cool. They were looking around, smiling, just taking in the scenes. And that tells me, like, for them, they're like, all right, a semifinal, cool, we got this, no worries. England might be a little more shaken. So I don't know. That could make the difference.
Just before we'll predict that game, actually, England has been shaken a bit by VAR. Actually, not just them, also many other teams. But here it is. What the VAR is going on at this tournament, please?
Oh,
what do you make of this?
First of all, I think that they have been taking way too long to make the decisions. Number one.
Up to 7 minutes.
Literally, 7 minutes to look at video. You don't need 7 minutes to look at video.
What are they looking at?
I don't know. But they also decided that this is the first time that they're going to test VAR because it's not used in any other women's leagues. It's never been used before in the women's game. And they decided, oh, let's just test it out at the World Cup, which I think was a stupid idea. Also, I think it's not just about VAR because VAR sometimes is very useful in that it makes the right decisions. Like in the England-Cameroon game, the decision, like the offside wasn't offside. You know, the goal should have counted. I don't think Cameroon could have really, protested. But I think the quality of the reffing has to be better. And I don't think that just because, quality of the reffing.
That's a very good point here, actually, because actually all referees at this Women's World Cup are women.
It's a rule. They have to be.
And is that not maybe...
I think it's not the best rule.
It's not the best rule,
because it should be based on merit. I mean, there's a bunch of refs who deserve to be there because they do ref. In the Bundesliga or in Uruguay, there's a ref who refs in men's first division. So, yeah, if you're a good ref, you should be there, but you shouldn't be there by default just because you're a woman. Because then, if you're poor, then people are going to be like, well, the only reason she's there is because she's a girl, and that's true. If there's a better ref than you that's a man, then why should he not be there? Also, in Italy, in Germany, they've already tested VAR. They use VAR in the Men's World Cup. So why not have experienced refs with VAR there helping out to take that transition and make it smoother instead of having 10 minutes of extra time at the end of a game? Like, are you serious? 10 minutes? 7 minutes? Was there 6 in the Germany game? Like, I don't think, you know, I don't really agree with that, and I think the quality of the refereeing has to be better.
In the semi-final, we have England against the United States. What's your prediction, Danya? Who's going to go through?
Oh, that's so hard. I'm going to go with U.S. I know I predicted England to win.
I know.
But I don't know, really just a couple things stood out to me in the U.S.'s last few games that I just think that they are going to have that extra something. And that's, you know, Rapinoe having the guts to step up and hit the exact same penalty shot twice. Or, you know, just the look of confidence that they have going out onto the field. But do I think England will win? Yeah, I could see it even going into extra time. But I'm going to go with U.S.
Result?
Oh, you asked me the result, too. 1-0.
United States?
Yeah. That's just a shot.
You know what? I'm going to say the exact same thing, but the other way around. I'm going to say England will win this 1-0 because I saw during the tournament some problems in the U.S. defense, actually.
You did.
Let's not forget about Spain, for example, what they did, and I think they exposed the problems in the U.S. defense, and England will do the exact same thing. That's my prediction now. Although I initially predicted France, but as we all know, this prediction is not going anywhere anymore. It's mostly European teams plus one North American team, but the rest of the world is already home. For example, Brazil. What do you make of Brazil's performance this time around at the World Cup? Let's also speak about Marta, maybe. Okay. You know, because when they were eliminated, she had this big moment of giving this speech of trying to inspire young women in Brazil to take over her role with tons of lipstick on her face. What was that?
Do you want me to show it?
Marta lipstick speech.
Should I show the speech?
Oh, yeah. Please show it to us, actually.
I have a bad quality taping of it.
Show it to us.
You ready?
Here it is. What to make of such a kind of thing, actually?
Well, Brazil, Marta, the speech, because I thought Brazil as a team, they got better as the tournament progressed. And the last game they played I was really sad to see them eliminated. Marta is Marta. Like, what can you say? She's ridiculous, and she's been like a pillar of women's football for so long. And I think that, I mean, because Brazil doesn't really have, we're starting to see that they don't really have that next generation. Like, there is no next Marta. You know what I mean? And they're playing with Marta and Formiga and Cristiane that are, you know, I mean, unless Cristiane and Marta are going to be like Formiga, they probably won't be in the next World Cup. So I think Marta's plea was like, you know, put the work in, even though it's hard, just because, you know, even my generation of players and people a little bit older than me, it was way harder than it is now, and it's still hard now. So she's saying, you know, put the work in, and maybe one day we can get the game to be where it deserves to be. So I liked it. It was...
You know what, on the other hand, one could say she just has a new contract with a lipstick company that she kind of, you know, signed just ahead of the World Cup.
She might.
And now this. Do you think that's the right place, actually, for such a kind of advertisement? Plus, it's banned by FIFA.
But does she actually have a contract with lipstick?
Yes.
Well, why not? If she does, why not?
There is more money coming into women's football, right?
There is.
Sam Kerr, although eliminated in the second round, tragically, shot it, isn't it? There are speculations like she now will move
like
to Chelsea.
Multi-million euro deal.
For 2 years, yeah. It's just speculations at this stage, but doesn't that show that the women's game, as we already said in the first prediction show, is also growing financially? Like,
I mean, to hear the words multi-million and then have that referred to a woman, that's big. You know what I mean? Just the fact that it's even happening. I mean, then again, it's not accurately represented because, you know, there's going to be people in professional leagues that are making a lot less than millions. You know what I mean? So it's a good step in the right direction. It's not to say like, okay, good, a player got €1 million and now we're set. Let's just sit back and just relax. You know what I mean? There's still a long ways to go, but I think it's a good start.
So it's time to predict the second semifinal, which is the Netherlands against Sweden. That's going to be a tough one, right? What do you say?
Holland has one of the best attacks, and Sweden is very good defensively.
0-0, classical 0-0, penalties.
No, I don't think so. I think Holland's going to win.
You already heard my prediction, because that's my prediction is 0-0, and actually Sweden is going to win on penalties.
Really? Okay. I think Holland's going to win. Medema, she's a natural goal scorer. There's not a lot of those around nowadays, and she could score goals. And Mertens, I thought, was very good today, so I'm going to go with Holland.
So your final is actually the USA against the Netherlands, because my final is England against Sweden.
It's going to be like one mix of both.
That's right, actually. So what else is there? I mean, goal. I liked the goal celebrations at this tournament in particular, although your Italia is out. This is pretty cool, huh? Let's have a look at this. What kind of Italian national dance is this, Danya? Tell us.
It's like the Macarena that they used to do after the game.
Macarena is from Sevilla.
Not Spain. It's not Italian. But they still did it.
What else do we have here? Oh, the military salute by Amandine Henry didn't help in the end. One thing about the, there was a lot of talk about equal pay actually before we're going to go to the final, because precisely talking about the money the US team would win in case they win this World Cup would be 3 times less than the men would have won last year. Would they have qualified? Because they didn't.
Literally. They don't even qualify for the World Cup.
Is that, it's this big debate, but
huge.
Is that fair? Is that unfair? Is that not reflecting reality? What would you say?
No, it's a big debate. I mean, I've always said it's not about paying men and women the same. It's about paying the women, what they deserve, or proportionate in terms of, a lot of different factors. Now, the U.S. is one particular case where they are. I just read an article the other day. It was from like the Washington Post or something, that from 2015 till now, the U.S. women's team actually brought in more revenue from games than the men's team.
Of course they did. The women's game in the U.S. is bigger actually than the men's game.
And they win. Not only do they just not qualify, they qualify. The worst place they've ever finished is 3rd, and they usually win. So how do you justify not paying them more than the men? Because the men suck. Sorry. I mean, I really hope they improve, but they're not as good.
What?
Nobody's trying to say, okay, Brazil women should make the exact same as Brazil men, but give them a chance. This is Brazil, okay? Let's not even get into that, because at one point they had canceled the women's team to pay Neymar's contract, so... But don't get me started on that one.
Final time. Danya says the U.S. will play Holland.
I do.
Who's going to win this final, Danya?
If the U.S. play Holland, the U.S. are going to win.
Why?
Sweden does frustrate them, so I think they're going to want to play against Holland. But the U.S. has another level. These games for them are not new. And they are, okay, maybe the Netherlands...
That's a feeling one had all the time during this tournament, right?
Yeah, but okay...
For them, these huge tournaments are just no pressure at all. They love this kind of situations. Whereas a lot of other teams, you could see the pressure on their faces.
Even like Sam Kerr, when she was taking her penalty shot, you could tell she was going to miss. You saw it in her face. And there, like Rapinoe, she goes to take her penalty shot, she's like, I'm going to put it right there. She could tell the goalie and she'd still score. It's just... Class, Rapinoe, she's just so good.
Plus her goal celebration. I need to show you more goal celebrations.
That sums it up right there.
That sums it up like this, like
obviously,
that was like, here I am, Mr. President.
Yeah, could that have been?
I'm not going to come to the effing White House, but
all you have to do is win. She's like, I'll make sure of that.
That's right. So I tell you what, my final is England against Sweden, and England will win this, obviously.
It's coming home.
And I'm very sad to say, as a German, that it's actually coming home. But sometimes you have to face reality. I know the US are very strong, but in the semis, it's over. I wonder what the president will tweet then. Probably something nasty.
Probably something stupid.
Or stupid. But
stupid
nasty
and
stupid.
Probably.
But you never know. So that was it. Are you looking forward to the final then?
Yeah.
Sunday.
Secretly,
next Sunday.
I do hope that England win.
Why that?
Just a secret, because they are one of the countries that have been putting the most into women's football. So I think that it's time that they get rewarded so that everybody can see what happens when you invest in women's football.
Please leave us your comments below. Who do you think will win this championship? Who's going to win the semis? Please let us know. Thanks for being with us. Thanks, Danya.
Thank you.
And see you next time.